Hey guys, it's Ken Barwin here with Teen Wealth Building, and today's going to be about being frugal with your money. And while that may not seem like the most exciting or most thrilling subject about business, it's definitely one of the most important, and it's something that people oftentimes get quite confused over because they don't realize um, they don't realize that the people they see on TV and the movie stars and all them who just spend and spend and spend, those aren't the real millionaires. Um, they they're exceptions, and they don't have wealth that is long lasting. I mean, you see these sports people who just they don't really they just don't you see them broke. You see some of them, they like make 10 million a year or however much they make, and they find themselves broke and bankrupt. And that is really astonishing because those are the people that those are the wrong people to live by. And those are coincidentally the people that we see in the media. And basically what I'm here to tell you is that the real millionaires and billionaires, they spend a certain percentage of their net worth, and that is one of the biggest things that I'll be discussing. Um, First of all, um, being frugal. I got all my ideas basically from The Millionaire Next Door, which is a fantastic book that I think everyone should read, as I stated in my previous vid. Um, it is basically is by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko, if anyone cared to look it up. But um, it's definitely one of the most important because well, it shows that people they don't need a huge income to become millionaires. What they need is strong values in terms of saving their money, and strong values in terms of just having a good defense, uh, and being efficient with their money. That is the most important thing. Also, what this book describes is that the rich, you know, you don't really recognize them because they act normal. They spend it normal. They don't buy the super fancy cars, and if they do, then that's because their income is a certain percent, or how much they spend is a certain percent of their total net worth, which could be feasible. It just depends on the person, and as your income grows, then then you can spend more, but it's all based on percentages, and if you go over that bounds, then you're going to be starting to get in trouble. Also, this book mainly describes first generation millionaires because oftentimes second generation millionaires, it's inherited, but they spend all their money because the parents, they grew up from poor families and they didn't want their child to live the way they did, so they spoil them, and that's why most second generation of the millionaires, they oftentimes are broke and in the same position that their parents were in when they first started. Millionaires and their kids, it's really a double-edged sword. It depends. Some of the millionaires, they teach their kids to spend wisely and how to grow with their business, while the other half, as I already described, they simply spoil them. It really just depends on what the mind frame of the millionaire is. If it's simply just to, um, have their kids have the best life possible, then that's unfortunate because they're killing the chances later in life, and that's something that I found really interesting. Also, there is low-income millionaires. In the book, they describe people who have $30,000 a year income, and yet they are millionaires. They have $5 million net worth, and I found that extremely interesting because normally we figure people with that low of income to be broke, but it's different because they save their money and they spend wisely. And that just shows you the power of this being frugal. I mean, you can be rich just by having a good defense. As I already stated, they spend a certain percent of their net worth. I don't remember the exact percent, but it was very, very low. But it still allowed them to live very well and very reasonable. Um, Also, millionaires have real estate and stocks no matter if they have a job or not. So they also see the benefit of investing their money. Otherwise, inflation is just going to kill you. And sticking your money in the bank's obviously not going to give you that much interest. So they see the value in real estate and stocks. There's also Robert Kiyosaki has a method. I believe you save out of like $10 if you had an income of that you save $2 of it or something. But that's just another way of showing the importance of saving money. And I also recommend reading his books if they're not going to give you a whole bunch of detail, but they'll definitely motivate you some. And that's probably one of the most important parts of this. Also, efficiency, being efficient with your money. That's really what this is all about. How to spend wisely, where to put your money, where to allocate your money, and in the end, that's really what this whole thing boils down to. The rich, at the time this book was made, cars they were buying the rich were buying them for approximately average of 24,000, I believe, and or less, it may be. But the biggest thing that stuck out to me about the cars is that all of them bought used cars pretty much, because they were still able to buy very expensive cars, or not very expensive, but very reasonable cars for cheaper prices, and they barely had any miles on them, but they got them for much, much more discount, as a lot of people have already realized. But that's really another important aspect of it. You're going to save a lot of money doing that. In terms of houses, um, they have a reasonable house. Um, it's not a shack, but it's not really a mansion either. Some obviously do, but it's kind of same with the cars. But yeah, they all, in terms of other expensive things, it's pretty much the same thing. They don't just sit in their house and not spend their money, but they also, they enjoy a little, and that's important too. Um, this is what I do personally, and I think that being frugal when you're young, even though it may not produce a lot of income, it still helps. Lunch, I get a certain amount of money every single day for lunch, and I save a certain percent of it. I get however, I get $5 for lunch a day for my mom, and I really only spend $2 of it because I don't need to spend the other three. Of course, I could, buy some cookies or Gatorade or something, but um, I prefer to save it. That goes with allowance also, and just save your money. You can spend a certain percent of it, but you should really save it. And even though you may not make much right now, it adds up, and the most important part, it creates an identity of yourself. Also, in terms of online games versus game consoles, online games, some of them they only cost about $7 a month, and compare that to a game console, which is 300 bucks plus games, which is $60. I mean, it can add up. So, if you really, if you're really into games, I would recommend playing online games versus game consoles, because in the end it's much cheaper, and you get to interact with people more. Bar the where you play online and stuff, but it's still pretty fun, but it's much more efficient. And it's a short vid this time, but rate, comment, subscribe. I had to make this in a rush because obviously Harry Potter's out, gonna see that. But rate, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys. I'll probably have another vid up next week.